last priority for 2025, third-party risk.
Yeah, oh man.
Man, I know you have just a whole slew of stories to share with us. Take it
Yeah,
away.
I mean, third party. Okay, so we've been talking about third party risk management or TPRM, if you want to use the industry
Ooh, I like
acronym for
it.
it. I mean, we've been talking about this for a while, and we really saw this come into play a lot more a few years ago, like when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, and we all went immediately to work from home, and we all made this big rush to cloud services. I mean, a lot of our data went into the cloud. It went into someone else's hands. Should I throw out my there's no cloud, it's just other people's
Go ahead.
computers
Go
line? Okay,
ahead.
there's no cloud, just other people's computers.
Yeah.
But what we saw was this new kind of like this new avenue of risk that we all had to deal with. And when we look at large scale data breaches over the last couple of years, like a lot of them are third parties. They're people that have information just from other sources like National Public Data, which we've talked about in our last couple of webinars. I mean, they were like a background check organization. They lost 2.7 billion records because they weren't using multi-factor and they had bad password policies. I mean,
And
it's
you
like the
corrected that.
simplest thing.
I'm like so bored
Yeah.
about that one. I'm like, how many times will a data broker lose our
Oh
data?
yeah, no, I
It's
got my
like, you
notification.
know,
Like we all went to the website, we all found ourselves in the database, and like I think we have fatigue at this point. Like,
but the
yeah.
children's health one was especially scary.
Yeah, the children's health one was big. Okay, so if you guys aren't familiar with that one, there was a company called ATSG, and ATSG is like a managed service provider or internet, or I'm sorry, a technology services provider. And for Boston Children's Health, they had, I
I
know,
used to work there, so it just like kills me. It kills me that this happened.
but like they put this company in charge of managing their infrastructure, which a lot of people do. I mean, if you don't have the staff on hand to manage like big server farms or big databases or something like that, you farm that work out to a third party. Pretty normal, right? Well, ATSG got hacked, and the Beyond Leon ransomware group, I hope I'm saying that right, was able to then access not just Boston Children's Health, but a bunch of other people's servers and hijack tons of data. Because of that, notifications had to go out to over 900,000 people that their personal health information, their billing information, their insurance information, all of that just went out the door.
Well, and what kills me about this is it was Boston Children's Health's name in the headline. And that's the problem with third party breaches. Nobody cares about ATSG, but everybody knows, oh, Boston Children's. And so your name is in the headlines. It's your reputational damage, even though it was somebody else's fault, potentially.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I think this was a loss of socials. Is that right?
Oh
Social
yeah,
security
yeah,
numbers. And like, talk about something that I am really bored of. Like, what is the damage at this point if your socials even, I have to ask, like,
yeah.
raise your hand if your social security number has been stolen. Like, this is exercise, everybody. Yeah.
More than once.
So it stinks that healthcare organizations have
Yeah.
to pay the price for a breach of data that has almost certainly already been breached.
Oh, I know, of course. And I mean, we're already starting to see repercussions from like the sheer level of data theft that's out there. I mean, like myself personally, somebody tried to file an unemployment claim under my name just a couple of months ago, and they would have to have my
Oh
social
yeah, we
security
got
number
a
to do that.
call.
Yeah, I got a
We
call
got a
from
call.
the state unemployment office. And of course, it wasn't me, but I mean, it was nice they had that verification step in place. But I mean, it impacts all of us, but in ways that I think we're just again kind of bored with. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So what do we actually need to do? What do we need to prioritize? First of all, how many of you out there feel like you've got a great, solid third party risk management program in place? Let's raise our hands. Wow, crickets, right?
Yeah.
It's not a lot of us. And that's not unusual. So, step one is make sure you have a third party risk management program in place. We actually have put a supply chain risk management handout for you as well in the chat. So, check that out. And if nothing else, again, in Q1, make a list of your top priority vendors, maybe five, maybe 10, ones that you rely on because they're critical for your operations or because they have very sensitive data or because they have a high level of access to your company or your organization. So list them out, go through and do a risk assessment, even if it's not for all of them, even if it's just for a few. And for those of you that may be at that next level of maturity, there are big changes we need to make
Yeah.
this year. Again, not to sound like a broken record, but because of AI. I mean, honestly, every year is exciting in cybersecurity. Do you remember when cryptojacking first came out?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That was incredible. And now it's like the most mundane kind of cybercrime
Oh,
on the planet.
cryptojacking. And this is a really genuinely exciting year though, where we have a lot of changes to make. And I think it's going to be for the best overall. So, when it comes to third party risk management, again, check out also at the bottom of our Adapting to AI Risks handout, you'll see a section about vendor and supply chain management. And I think most people recognize that you need to vet any AI vendor that you're engaging with. So, if you're signing up for Copilot or if you're
Mhm.
signing up for ChatGPT, we should be really evaluating that vendor, understanding what security controls are in place. Um, but where a lot of times we're missing things is that your existing vendors have started to incorporate AI. And so we need to add AI related questions to our vendor vetting questionnaires. Don't just check the same check boxes as last year. It's time to start
Yeah.
asking your existing vendors, how are you using AI? And sometimes the rug has gotten pulled out from under us, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, there are plenty of instances. I won't name any names, but there are a couple of vendors that I work with who have admitted that they started incorporating AI into just their general business processes, which means any information that I send to them gets integrated into that system. I don't know what the security level is on those systems. I don't know like what that data is actually being used for, and
Yeah.
that's a little upsetting, right?
Imagine if your lawyer is putting your data into ChatGPT,
Oh
which I'm
God,
sure
yeah,
happens all the
probably.
time. And, is that a personal ChatGPT account? Is that secured with multi-factor authentication? Do we trust the whole organization behind it? Those are things that we want to be aware of. So, things to think about in the coming year. A couple other things to mention. Obviously, you want to evaluate your AI products. And again, look at the security features. Copilot's a great example
Yeah,
where you have to learn to use it. May want to limit what data it can access. ChatGPT, you want to be deploying multi-factor authentication. I'm not sure if there's a retention time you can set with some of these tools, but
some of them, yeah.
I sure would if you can. So you want to really understand, just like any other tool, how you secure the data inside of it.
Mm.
And one issue for legal to address is just having those contractual safeguards that relate to AI. But I think that the risk of fourth and fifth and sixth party breaches is has already gone up substantially.
Oh yeah, hugely.
Yeah, because so many organizations, again, lawyers are a good example where they're taking your data and throwing it into this service, and now boom, you have a fourth party risk that you didn't have a year ago.
Yeah, I mean the use of public AI. There's horror stories about this already. I mean, first and foremost, I mean it can again, it's imperfect. It can hallucinate. So if you're if you have a lawyer or a doctor who's utilizing AI for either treatment options or for drafting briefs or something like that, I mean they have to be really sure that the information in there is actually accurate first and foremost. But remember that I mean if you've got a public chat GPT instance and somebody breaks into that account, like if your password's bad, you don't have MFA, they can see every single prompt that you put in there and they can see all the information that you gave it. I mean, that is just a huge source of data leakage that a couple of people have already had to come out and declare data breaches because of. There's a reason why like Samsung and Tesla and companies like that don't allow their employees to use ChatGPT. It's that reason specifically.
Yeah, no, we had a question from Brad ahead of time related to the third party risk management topic. Can you share your thoughts on outsourcing some of these efforts? I am obviously a huge fan of outsourcing third party risk management. It's actually something that our team does on behalf of some of our clients. And the reason I think it's effective is because we certainly can scale those efforts. So we develop a checklist, we update the checklist, and we can use it for many different organizations and we can learn from each one. So there's definitely some economies of scale and specialization right now. The other thing is we are big fans of
Yeah.
Venminder. And at LMG, we actually offer Venminder for our clients, those who want it. One of the reasons I really like Venminder is that your vendors can actually register ahead of time in Venminder. So if they're serving dozens or hundreds of different organizations and they're getting vetted, you don't have to pepper them with a zillion questionnaires. So it's more efficient in general, but also it's easier for you. You literally log in, they can share their report with you that they've already created according to whatever framework you've asked them for. And then poof, you have it, and you don't have to spend weeks going through this process.
Yeah.
It
That's
really
handy.
saves time and effort. And I think that's what we need this year. We need to really be leveraging technology to help us tackle these issues. Thank you so much, everyone. Again, this is Sherry Davidoff, CEO of LMG Security.
And I'm Matt Duran, Director of Training and Research for LMG Security. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out at any time. We would love to hear from you. You can reach us at info@lmgsecurity.com, find us on LinkedIn, or follow us on Twitter. Thanks again for joining, and we'll see you next time.